Hey guys, apparently you didn't get a stream starting soon screen. But never mind, doesn't make any difference to what's going on. Earlier on today, we basically did stuff with the connector hotbar. So we now have the buildings hotbar, so you can drag these down onto the hotbar, but we implemented the connector as well, so that when you click on this, it changes the hotbar settings to drag these in. Now you'll notice that this has got none, none, and none. So let's fix that first, I suppose. Now you will notice as well, if these are none, then obviously we're probably going to bring nothing in. And in fact it changes over, so we need to find out what's causing that. But either way, we made some very good progress this afternoon regarding this. This hotbar is taking quite a long time, right? But there's so many systems that need to be written to back up its functionality that it obviously becomes quite a job, right? But it's just a matter, as I said before, and as I'll say again, one bit at a time. Just build up the code, just build up the logic, and we'll get there. Okay, so first things first, we shall click on the hotbar, and we're going to get hotbar management. Okay, and when we go to the graph, we're going to come to here, and we're going to get the AR connector type. Right? And as per usual, we're getting hit by some stuff, so just let me delete them and report them, and that'll be that. Right, so when it's coming in here, we're basically getting nothing back off the hotbar category. At least I think that's the case. So what we'll do is we'll add a breakpoint, and we're also going to obviously check it here. Okay, so we're going to do that. And that wasn't what we wanted. Right, okay, that's because we haven't brought it up yet. Right, so now we've got this. Right. And this enum, we'll have to step over this. So that's combiner, which is fine. So it seems to be that whatever this is, this appears to be nothing. So let's check on that. None. Right, our connector type is an enum. Right, so when we're breaking the struct menu connectors, this connector name is none. Okay, so we need to look at DT menu connectors okay, which is inner structs and data. And yeah, so we can just basically type these in, to be honest. Of course, we could do it as connector type, which would do the same job, but if these change, then that might not be such a good idea. Right, and then we basically say splitter. Okay, now I'm thinking the whole thing might work now, because if that none was screwing things up, probably not actually. We are going to need to check on this. So we can resume that, and then if we click on that, you can see we've got it the wrong way around. Splitter and combiner are the wrong way around. Okay, which suggests that these are the wrong way around. Connector type, that's actually a combiner, and this is actually a splitter. Okay, simple. Mistake to make there. Right. So we're not quite done yet, but this part is working. Okay. And now if we drop this into 6, 6 goes blank. Right, that's because it can't find it. And what we need to do now is go into the hotbar and find out which hotbar we are on at that particular time. Okay, I'm going to attack a fly with a fly swatter. And I missed it. Darn it. I wouldn't have bothered. I don't bother so much about flies, it's the mosquitoes that murder me. Right, so we need to go into the drag drop of the actual hotbar main. Okay, so it's going to be actually not there. It's going to be in our buildings menu and in our, we've got to do the blank and the individual building button. Okay, so these two on drops. Okay, so this is very interesting how we're going to do this. Okay, so we're going to be saying on drop, right? So let's leave that as it is. Okay, but what we're going to have to do is, have we got the controller? Yes, we do. So we've got the controller, and we get Hotbar Mode. Okay, and then on, we're going to switch on this. Okay, so before we do anything, we're going to do a switch. Right, now these two things here are going to go underneath. And we shall drag that across, tidy it up a bit, drag that down a little bit. We shall drag this over here a bit. We might end up doing these as separate functions, but for the moment we're going to live with it. Okay, but what we're going to do in the short term is we can drag that up. Okay, and then in actual fact, going to do that. Then we can drag these, excuse me, we can drag those up a bit, right? Now, I think we could quite easily pop this in its own function, and this would be the on drop building function, and then we would have the on drop connector function. So let's do something then. So what we'll say is we'll add a function, right, and we'll call it on drop buildings. Okay, and the input that is going to be the operation. Now, can I pass through an operation, or am I going to have to pass through Sean? Yep, we can. It's a drag drop operation, right? So we can drag that through. Okay. We can save that. Then we can go back to the event graph. On drop, that's on drag, on drop, and the normal on drop. Right. So what we can do here is we can copy that and we can basically paste it in here. And then we can tidy it up a bit. So that's going to go there. These two can come up and across a bit. Then obviously this is going to go in here, and that's us. Right? And then we can go to back to our on drop, right? And then we can say on drop buildings. Then we can simply just drag that in there. Then we can do that, and there we go. Okay. Now the only question now is, do we have any? We don't have any local variables, so we're okay as far as that goes. Okay. So now what we can do is we can duplicate that, and we can say on drop connectors. Okay. Then we can save that. Then we can go to on drop. Then we can drag this in, and this can basically say on drop connectors. Then this can go, and in fact this can go. We're not going to do anything with that, right? We'll straighten that reroute. No, that looks okay to me. Right? So we can test this by actually using the normal connector mode, or sorry, building mode. So we can drag that and drop it into 8, and that works fine, right? But our problem is it's not going to work in here. Okay, so we need to find out what exactly is going on regarding this, right? And we're doing this building row name, which is kind of wrong for the connectors, right? So let's just do the simplest thing here and see if it actually sorts out our issue without too much mucking around. Right, so our building hotbar, so we're looking for the controller, right, but we're not looking for the we're looking for hotbar, right, and then we've got the connector hotbar, right, which is what we want. Right, this is going to stay the same. Now, our interesting thing here is we don't want to actually do that. So, hotbar we just want to do that, right? So that is all absolutely fine except this here, which is going to be our connector, right? And that is going to go in there, and this is going to get removed, and this gets dragged down. And now on the update hotbar menu, now I'm going to have to do this on both, right? So we'll do it on this one first, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to update hotbar menu. Right? So basically when we do this, we double click on this, and we're not going to do this. Right? So update hotbar menu is kind of going to do this, but it's kind of not, right? What we're going to actually say as well is connector. This one here, which I've spelt wrong, right, which is kind of awesome. Okay, whatever. Straighten connection. And then I'm going to open this again, right, and I'm going to rename this to the right thing. Okay, so our FE controller and we are going to get hotbar mode, and then we're going to int, then off of this WS right, what's our widget switcher called? WS hotbar mode. Right, so we're going to be getting WS okay. Ah, it's the management, isn't it? No, it's not. Right, it is this. Apparently our hotbar is not an variable. Wait a minute. That's the hotbar. Right. Now this is what we want to do, but that's actually not what we want to do. Right, now we want to actually control, the actual hotbar, not okay. So what we can do with this is quite simple. Right, we can view this, right, and then we know for a fact that this is the buildings, right? So we can write a custom event, right? It says show buildings. Okay, and then we can just do that in there, and then we can say custom event, right, and this is going to be show connectors, right, and that can go in there. Save that, and then if we go back to our controller, we do this, and then we switch. Actually, no, we don't. We switch on this. Switch on hotbar mode. And since we are just going to have the two examples right now, but we can easily build this out. So this is going to be show, oops, no it's not. We're going to have to get the hotbar reference. So we'll drag down reroute node, right? And this is going to be show buildings, so that's going to go there, and then we'll drag this down a bit, and we'll say show connectors in there. Okay, and we can drag that down to there. That'll look good. That'll do. Okay. Let's try that out, shall we? So we do that. We drag that into there. Close that, right, we'll open it back up, we'll press that, then we'll put a conveyor into 8. And that's still affecting that. That's still affecting the wrong thing, basically. Of course it is, because that's on the blank. I'm an idiot and I haven't done the blank yet. This needs to basically be copied for the blank, right? Okay, so for we need to open up the blank one, right? And we've got to basically do the same thing. And we're casting the controller, right? So all of this is okay, a bit messy, and we can tidy it up, but fundamentally we're going to create our two functions again, and we're going to say on drop buildings, Then we're gonna add an input, and it's gonna be operation, and it's going to be an operation, drag drop operation, right? Save that. Then we're going to go back to our on drop. Then we're going to copy all this. Okay. And then we're going to paste it in here. And then this basically goes in there. Right? And then for our other one, so we're going to save that, right? Then we're going to duplicate this, except this is going to be connectors, right? And then I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to save that. We're going to event graph it. Then we're going to say event construct, right? And we're going to say player controller. And we're going to say cast to FE controller. Then we're going to promote this to a variable. Then we're just going to change this to be controller. Then we're going to tidy it up. And then we're going to get rid of some of the code that we don't need once we've got rid of that. Right? Oops. So there we go. We can do that there. Can save that. And now if we go into on drop buildings, right, we can drop our controller onto there. Okay, we don't do that. We could grab that, we get the controller, and we pop it right there. And then we can delete that, and we can delete that, and we can kind of start tidying this up a bit, right? Now, this is on the drop building, so that one's okay, right? So we can drop this here. Can drop that there, delete that. And basically we can just do this. And then we can say get connector hotbar, right? And we can use that now. To go in here. Then we can delete that. Okay. And we can use these two again. right? And while we're at it, right, we can drag that into there. Then this can go into here. And this can go into here. And then this can get deleted. Then these two can get deleted. And then that can get deleted. And we should be able to save that. That's looking a bit better. And this is going to go in here. Right? We can drag that back to there. Then we can kind of sort this out a bit. And then this can basically go to there. So that's looking pretty good. Right, so we can drag that to there. Then we can basically drag that to there. And that node can go away. You can drag that up a bit. Then straighten this. Then we can basically drag this up here. And that's looking a heck of a lot better. Then this can go here. And that to there. And that looks fine. Right? Can move that back a bit to, let's say, there. Then that can go up a bit. Then this can go, let's put that there. Oops. And this was the bit we were tidying up, right? So we'll just continue tidying this up before we do anything here. Right, and we'll just straighten that connection to there. And we'll save that. Okay. And on that, guys, I'm going to go and grab a cigarette. So I shall be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Not that there's anybody here, but I shall see you in 2 minutes. Okay, we're back. So let's continue this. So we can now test it and see if we are getting the correct results. Now what we want to do is make sure that everything is set here to the connector hotbar. And apparently they are. Now we don't want to do this. Right, if anything, we want to do the connector menu. Okay. So we'll delete that out. Then we'll duplicate that. Right, and we'll remove them. Delete that. Then connect this back up. Okay. Right, so let's try this out, shall we? And see how we go. Right, so hotbar good. Now for the connector. Connector not good. Okay, so we need to follow the code here to see what's actually going on in the on drop. And we've not set up anything, because we're kind of foolish that way. Okay. So we want to get hotbar mode. And before we do anything, we're going to disconnect that. We're going to disconnect that. Right. And then, well, zoomed out, we're going to move all this stuff out of the way. Right, so that we can delete it in a moment. But we're going to switch on our hotbar mode. Okay. And we're going to drag in our two functions, which is on drop buildings and on drop connectors. Drag them in there. And that's going to go like, if I can get my mouse to work, that's going to go like that. And then we're going to drop our operation in, and that's going to look something like that. We'll align these left, I suppose. Line left. Then we'll drag them in here. Then this is going to come down. And this is going to come down a bit. Just for the moment, tidying it up. And then this will go in here. And we're now ready to test. Right, so hotbar management, drag in refiner 2, and apparently that's not working. So whatever we've done there, that is now not working. So we've got our earn drop. So let's follow this through. Step over. Step over. So we're going into the right place here. Step into. Okay. Step over that. And we've still got none. Right, is this still none? Surely that can't be right. Apparently not. Right, so this is building blank, right? And we have got a controller reference there. And we have got a reference there. Now, this should definitely, that's refiner 2. And that's right. But I'm guessing that it's not going to get, it did get to there. Refiner 2. Now this says building menu. Right, we're going to stop this. It would appear we don't have this reference. Well, we must have. Right, hang on a second here. It is saying, yeah, it's giving us it is giving us a problem here, right? Now, I'm not convinced that we've actually got a reference here, but we should have. As FE controller. Well, that's not what we want. Yeah, we're going to delete that. Right, that's weird. Right, I'm going to say that's fixed it. That was weird though. Right, but once we've done this, we'll tidy everything up. Now I'm hoping this is going to work, obviously. Right, so that's alright. Now we should have a reference to our controller now. Yeah, we have. Right, so we can just resume that. And there it is. And now, if we go into our conveyor, resume that. Hey! And there we go. we can drop our combiner. There we go. And then, oh, it's not doing it on this one. Okay, so we need to take a look at that. This is turning out to be actually quite blooming complicated. I mean, we will get it sorted, but it's just getting it into it's because we're using this widget switcher. Okay. This widget switcher has changed the goalpost, moved the goalpost quite a lot. So we'll call that working for now. Okay, I'm having to deal with quite a lot of bots tonight. Right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to detect the on drag from our individual, this here. We're going to do the on drag. And we might have an issue here. Well, no, not really. Not really. All we actually need to worry about here is what hotbar we're currently on. Right. So this isn't necessarily going to be a building, right? So in actual fact, we'll be getting our controller again. And this should actually end up, this is going to end up not being an individual building blank. It's actually like a component blank or a component button, because it's not really a building anymore. It could be a building, it could be a connector. Right, so we get the mode, and then depending on our mode is what we pass into this, basically. Right, so this is going to be a switch. Right, so what we'll do is, I mean, there's not that much actually that different, right? It's just going to be slightly different variables used for each one. But the issue here is the building isn't going to be this. Or actually, is it? There's the thing. There is the thing. What I want to do is I want to check this. Right, and see what we've actually got here. At this point. Right, so let's do that, shall we? So when I do that, right, and then I drag the combiner in here, that's all great, right? But it's not firing up the on drag detected, right? So that's going to be the on mouse button down. On the individual building button. But is one of them the individual building button? Interesting concept. So what we'll do is we'll enable the breakpoint, right? And we'll press play again. You're welcome, Jameson Parker, and welcome to the stream. It's pretty quiet out there tonight, so I'll show you what type of game I'm working on for a laugh. It's a mix between Factorio, Satisfactory, Surviving Mars, and a pinch of RimWorld. Right? So what you can do is, the first thing you've got to do is launch probes, okay? So we launch probes to find minerals, right? And our drones come up and launch, and this is really just a graphical flourish, to be honest, right? You'll notice that we've already found it. We send out a builder, and then this will build a mine, and then we can build a refinery, smelter, then let's say a fabricator, and then we can build a research station, right? Then we can spin them round and we can give them a recipe to build. Right, obviously these build different things depending on what they are. And we're going to build research. Right, now the next part of the equation is we need something that we are going to research. So we can bring up a research tree. Now this is just the start of the research tree and it's totally draggable about and stuff. Right, but we're going to do mining. Right, so we start mining. But as you can see, there's nothing much happening yet, and that's because we haven't joined anything up. So let's join stuff up, shall we? So we click here, get our conveyor belts, and start building. I would say, yeah, there's a very, very small amount of C++ where I calculate some numbers, right? But none of the I'd basically say 99.9% of it is blueprints, okay? Okay, so you join them up and you can see that stuff starts coming out. We need to add some workers. Right? And once we've started some workers, you'll notice that we start getting a crap load more stuff. Now, what you can do is this display shows you when and if you can trade with the ship, right? At the moment you can trade through the ship anyway, but this is like a TV display of this, right? You can see that it matches exactly what's going on with the ship, right? And then when the ship lands, this is showing you when the ship is taking off and landing, right? So that if you're in another part of the map, you can still get a visual representation of whether or not you can actually trade. So you can trade with the ship, right? And get money. And you can buy workers, right? Because normally you won't have many workers, right? So yeah, you can do that, right? You can obviously do the research stuff, right? And if we look at the research now, we haven't got any yet, right? But here's one coming now, right? If we look at, we've got a research flask, right? And as you can see, these are like copper, these are actually iron sheets, but because of the lighting, they look like copper. I've not managed to solve that problem yet, but we will. Right, so you'll notice now, if I go to there, you can see that that's actually now doing stuff. Like that's gradually filling up. Right, now we can speed it up by hitting that button there. I've got it on time dilation so that we can actually do some stuff, right? And if you do love these kind of games, then you'll love this because we have production graphs. Right, and it's actually better if I hit that button there to speed everything up. So as you can see, we've got actually 2 of them are matching each other, and that's why you can only see 3, but there's 4 products here, right? But we can make it in hours and we can see graphs, and you're probably loving it. There we see research. Okay, our research was just completed there, so we need to start another research. So we can start refining, right? And what else can we do? Can't remember. Oh yeah, there's lots of player options as well. Oh, thank you very much, mate. There's another, yeah, when I was making the original menu, right, this actually was mimicking the hotbar, right? But then I realised that I wanted to be able to do lots of stuff with the hotbar, right? So there's refining 1 just finished. And it does give out rewards, by the way, so all that's set up. So the next thing was that all of my menus, as you will notice, right, look very blue. So I decided at that point, right, we can't be having that, right? Can't be having mad things like a blue thing, a blue menu. So I decided that it'd be a good laugh that we can change the colours of everything, right? So we can change the colours of like our information bars, and then we can change the strengths of the blur and stuff like that on the back of it, right? We'll have text color to be, let's say, green, and the title color to be purple, right? We'll okay that, then back, right? And now when I play the game, you'll notice everything gets put back exactly how it was, so everything's saved there. We even have squads of robots running around. Yeah, so now when I press like the stats, did that update that? Okay, we need another thing here that's going to show us. Okay, right, so you can do inventory, and for some reason now this hasn't saved, so I'm going to need to check this, right? But you've got a crafting bar, right? So like you can craft stuff in your hand, like so. So you'll notice that it pops up there. And that's all pretty cool. Right, the UI color theme was working. I don't know why it's not working anymore. It's I've probably broken something while I was doing other things. Right, and you can basically drag stuff into the trash and that gets rid of it and blah blah blah. All that nice stuff. Right, but let me see if I do buildings. Nope. That is weird. That is weird how that's not working now. Right, research mining 2 is complete. The timing of everything's ought to be set out, and there's lots of products and stuff, but you can customize the colors. I had this working. I've obviously screwed it up somehow. Actually, that should have been doing it here as well. Right, but you can. Okay, so this is where it took me to, right? I wanted a hotbar, but I didn't want just any hotbar, right? I wanted a customizable hotbar. So this led me to doing the hotbar settings, right? So what you can do now is you can drag like that to there, and then what you can do, right? Okay, I've got a breakpoint there to check that out. We'll just stop that for now. Just ignore that. That didn't happen, obviously. Right, and now it's firing loads of shit off. Don't do that. Where were we? It was on drop. It must have been on drag detected. Yep. Right, disable that. Right, run. Okay, so this took me to the next part, which basically, if I do that, I can swap them over. So you can basically customize your toolbar, your hotbar, right? And the reason for this was if Refiner 2 became available, right, you would need to be able to, you know, customize your hotbar. but it will put it into the hotbar for you if you gain it through. So see, when we started the game, this would have been empty, right? In fact, I can probably prove that. Right, I can't because I've saved it like a right goofball. Right, but if I actually start a new game, you'll notice that it's empty. Right, so what happened was the first time I did a miner, it unlocked it due to the research being completed, and it automatically put it in the hotbar, right? But obviously I needed a way to maintain the hotbar as well. Now I'm running into a couple of issues here because, oh, look at that, I just need to start a new game, and here we go with our UI settings, right? Right, so you'll see it now in the stats. We've got different colours. Okay. So yeah, you can customize the UI. And now I'll need to add, oh crap. Right. So now that I've customized the UI, what I'm going to need to do is allow them to customize the color of these buttons. Right? So they'll be able to customize these buttons as well. The color of the thing in the outside. But it's blue for now. Okay? But as I said, we're transitioning between this menu, which will stay for some of the things, like research will stay, power might stay, might go, stats will stay, that one's going. You can bring up a grid, right, which shows you the position of your thing, and the grid moves with you to give you the positions. As you can see, position 5 minus 11. I don't know if that's going to stay because it doesn't really serve much of a purpose, to be honest. Right, but that is done in C++, right? And obviously you can switch it off, and you can remove buildings, etc. So there's a lot to it basically. And you came in right at the right time because basically I've not had a lot of views tonight. It's a quiet night, which is fine. And I was going to finish early, but you've given me a little bit of impetus to keep going. Right? So, the problem at the moment is this. Right? We can drag this into here. Right? And then as you see, we can swap them around. Right? Which is all great and fabulous, and actually it's pretty cool. Right? But if you hit the widget switcher, it's going to switch this over to the connectors, right? The splitter, the conveyor, and the combiner, right? Now, I can drag these in, right? Which is what we want, right? Now, notice, right, that's not going to go away. But what I can do is go like that and it will go away. Right. Now watch this. What I can do is I can simulate the button. Right? So that's exactly what that button does. Right? So if I hit like 3, or let's do an 8, right? It gives me a storage container. So that proves that the hotbar works, and so does clicking that button, right? Now you'll notice here that we've got the hotbar set to 9 or N, right? That's because once again I've set it up as, right, we'll ignore that just now because we know there's a problem with the drag drop on the conveyors, right? So we'll ignore that for now. But if I press play and go to options, we go to key bindings, right? And you can bind all the keys, right? So this is your camera movement, forward, backward, left, right, and these are your hotbar. Okay, I'll explain it in a second, okay? So, you'll notice that this button here is N, okay? Now, I could actually change that to anything I want, right? So, we shall change it to a V, right? And then we shall change the 3 button to a J, right? And if we do that and we continue, you'll notice that J, B. Okay? And then you'll notice I'm not on anything, but I'm going to hit the J button, and the J button does my fabricator, which is that, right? So basically, in the past 3 days, I've been working on the back end of all this, or maybe even 4, right? When I started, I decided to make this hotbar. So, yeah, you can remove buildings as well, and also there's a lot more to it that you wouldn't notice, and I forget to explain it, right? But basically what happens is, you saw the miner here, right? And then all the different buildings. Now, these buildings are semi-intelligent, right? In that they know when they're full, and if they know they're full, they send a message back down the line to say, stop giving me stuff. Yeah? And then also when we remove, it removes all the conveyor belts that are attached. The correct thing. So, yeah. It's quite complicated. But, oh yeah, drag drop. Right, drag drop. Right. What you do is you start with the override on mouse button, right? You tell it what the drag key is. In this case, I'm using right mouse button. Well, there's many ways to do it, Jameson. They basically, a lot of it's interface stuff, right? But I'll try to explain drag drop to you. Right, here we go. On mouse button down. Now, what you've got to do is you'll find it in an override, right? And it'll be on mouse button down. Now, once you actually select it, like I have, and it becomes an override function, then it'll disappear for this list, right? So that's why you don't see it here, but you'll see like on mouse button up, on mouse button blah blah, blah blah blah, right? But you want out on mouse button down. And you say detect drag if pressed. And then you plug the return value into the return value, right? And what that does is basically start this process, and it is this function on drag detected, right? And what you do is you pass in an object as a payload. Okay? Right? So I am passing in this widget as the payload. Right? And basically what the payload means is just an object. Right? But you can, on the other end, you can tell what this object is, cast back to it, because you know what it's going to be, right? And then you can grab the variables out of it, right? And you can also pass a tag that you can read directly, right? So it creates the drag drop operation, and then you pass in the operation, and that passes in this payload, right? So the next thing is you've got your, that's your that's your start point, right? Where you get the payload, and then you get your destination, and your destination has an on drop, right? And then for me, I've got on drop buildings, on drop connectors, right? But these are basically the same thing, right? And then what I do is I cast it to either one of these, because of the way I've done it, it can be either one of these, right? And you'll notice here that we've got this payload, right? And this is basically the widget. In this case, it's either an individual building button or an individual drag drop image, right? And then you can basically cast it and then grab the variables, okay? And that's what you see me doing here. And then I do some array swapping and stuff like that, depending on what they're doing, right? But that's how drag drop works. It's an on mouse button, drag detect if pressed, then you do the drag detected, you fill up the payload and the tag, then you pass the operation on, and then in the destination that you're going to drop it into, you do the on drop. You read the payload and do your execution from there, okay? That's how it works. So probably yeah, so that's the 3 steps, okay? That is the 3 steps. Probably an easier one would have been dropping stuff in the trash, because basically the on drop, you just get the payload, you read what the variable is and you delete it, right? And that's basically it. So for me, it's just I look at my inventory, right? So I drop it, the object is a piece of inventory, I read what the inventory is, like copper and the quantity, and then basically I just remove that from the inventory, and that's it. So that's the on drop operation. Okay? So hopefully that made some sort of sense to you. But I'm going to go and grab a cigarette, check out the description for my Discord, hit like and subscribe. And there's a couple of ways of supporting the channel as well. You can actually have a look at my previous game, and you can add it to your wish list, which would help. Or if you want to support it some other way, there's the Patreon, and you can buy my game, right? But the other thing is, you can join my Discord. Everybody's welcome to join the Discord. And I shall be back in 2 minutes, and I'll continue. Okay, we're back. And since this stream seems to be for you, Jameson, is there anything you want to see? Is there anything you've wondered how you do it? And I'll see if I can show you how to do it, depending on what it is. Oh yeah, there was one more thing I was thinking about showing you. Right, when you do the on drag detected, right, you'll notice here that this creates a widget, and that is the thing that you see while you're dragging, okay? So for example, this becomes a bit more obvious when you do it, right? If I click on the inventory, you'll notice that this becomes what I'm actually dragging as well. Right, so I basically create a copy of that widget that was already there, and then it gets dragged into here. Right, now you'll notice from here that it's copper ore, right? It's copper ore in quantity 500, which means I can act on it, right? So I can look at the inventory and go, right, look at the copper ore, take out 500, right? Which basically removes it from the inventory, right? You can see there, right? So I can do that. Well, that didn't work, but we'll not worry about that, right? Oh yeah, and another thing you'll have noticed there is these become unavailable because basically I can't afford them anymore, right? Because I basically trashed all my stuff, right? So it even works that out. It works out the building cost and basically, you know, does a symbol to tell you that you can't build it anymore, right? So I'll show you that again because that was quite funny, right? So you'll notice these will go red as I basically get rid of certain things out of the, right? You'll see all those went, and then when I got rid of the iron sheet, I'm sure the other one went. Yeah, the other two went, right? So I can't build anything anymore because I got rid of everything, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool. But what I could do is, well, I can't make that. Well, we're kind of screwed. But yeah. So yeah, there's all of that. You can load the game, blah blah blah. You know, so you can load from a certain load save game, which is another core thing that you need to be able to do in Unreal Engine. You've only got one save slot, so basically what I've done is I've made the first save slot be the name of all the games, and then the save games have their own save game slot named after that save game slot, right? It sounds a bit weird, but anyway. So I'm using that in conjunction with Easy Multisave. And the next part is, oh yeah, you can delete stuff as well, right? So you can basically go in there and delete those, but I don't know which one I'm using. And credits, you can get your name on the credits list basically by supporting the Patreon. This is just a test at the moment, but if I ever get any supporters on Patreon, they'll get their name in here. So this scrolls up and down, and this is pulling from a data table, as basically I do everything from data tables where possible, which means I've got a lot of stuff in data tables, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool as well. Everybody was quite impressed with that, and I did it just for a laugh because somebody actually said they were going to join my Patreon, so I had to quickly do it. Right, the other thing is, as well as that, on the second tier of Patreon, another thing I had to do was basically allow, I forgot about this. Right? There's a reason this takes a little while to actually start up. It's because I'm using a material effect that I turn off when I can't be bothered with it. But you'll notice here that you can name all of your buildings as well. Right? So you can actually go in here and basically you can call this like Jameson. Right? So you can actually name your buildings if you wanted to. Like you could call this Refiner Jameson 1 or Refiner whatever, right? And this tells you basically products per cycle, cycle speed, the current workers, the efficiency, whether it's been damaged or not, and the building name. This is, I don't know if this is going to stay or not for the workers, but anyway. But yeah. And the miner does the same thing. All of the buildings have got information screens on them that are relevant to what they do, basically. Right, so I can basically go here and if we set this up again, right, and it's set up bulk site for me, which is kind of handy. So for example, if I go here and then select mining, right, then if I click on this, it gives me what I'm doing and the process time for each, current progress, current workers, overall efficiency, and number of research stations. Okay, so you can build more than one of these. Right, so we build that, again it gives us all our thing. And this pulls from the same thing. It pulls from a data table that basically will be a list of my Patreon supporters or whatever. But I could give them random numbers as names as well, which I actually do as far as the workers go. The workers have got like random names as well, even though I'm not doing anything with them at the moment. But that's the sort of pinch of RimWorld that I could do, right? Where the individual workers, the idea is that the workers, if they're overworked or not the right type of workers for your factories, then they will basically leave, right? They will basically leave the planet. So the idea is to have like entertainment buildings that keep your workers happy. And if your workers aren't happy, as I said, they leave. And if they leave, then you lose workers. And if you lose workers, then basically your buildings are going to slow down, right? Because each building starts off with a minimum number of workers, right? So if I click on that, you'll show you it's only 8% overall efficiency, right? But if I add workers, I can do that on the fly here by pressing a button. You'll notice that this is now up to 91%. So this is going to cycle stuff a heck of a lot faster, right? So this is going to take 0.91 second, or sorry, 1.1 seconds to do a cycle for this product, right? But it's determined by the level of the building and the number of workers you've got. Okay? So yeah, that's another cool part about it. And I think I'm going to call it at that. If you've enjoyed the stream, then hit like and subscribe. Check out the description for various ways to support the channel and to join the Discord. And I shall see you tomorrow at 2 PM Central. Bye bye for now.